This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. We're at the Ohio Produce Growers and Marketers Association annual meeting in Columbus. Ethan Stuckey is their president. Good to have you.
Thank you.
I have known Ethan for quite a while, back in my farm broadcasting days, and he was just a young farmer up and coming and now taking a major leadership role within Ohio agriculture. Why'd you decide to take that route and get into the position you're in now?
Well, I've always thought it important to be involved in no matter what your industry or your community or whatever you're doing. So being a part of the board for many years now, I've kind of had some ideas I've wanted to bring to the organization. OPGMA has gone through a lot of changes in the last 10 or 15 years, and we bringing new ideas to light has been kind of an exciting and fun part of being on the board and now being president of the OPGMA.
I want to talk about some of those changes here in a bit, but for those who don't know you, give us a little background on Ethan Stuckey.
Yes, so I grew up on a dairy farm in Bucyrus, Ohio. We milked about 300 cows growing up, expanded to 600 cows. And when I was in high school, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to grow fruits and vegetables. I had a grandfather over in Indiana who did that for his entire life. And so that was kind of my inspiration to do that. Got into the fruit and vegetable business when I was in high school, and that's been over 10 years ago now. And so from then we've kind of started doing that. We planted an orchard, some strawberries, and then now we have our farm market. And with our farm market, we've, expanded to all sorts of activities with, corn maze, and then our event center and everything like that. So been a part of a lot of different aspects of agriculture throughout the years, and very, very happy where we're at now.
Agritourism always really intrigues me because for those outside looking in, it looks like a lot of fun, right? There's the corn pit, there's the maze, and everything that families get to do when they come out to see the farm. But on your side, boy, the rules and the insurance and everything that goes into making that a safe experience, people don't really understand. But you've been able to make it successful. How so?
Yes, it's been a lot of slow growth. Has kind of been our main approach to how we do this. So we really kind of started scaling it up back in 2018, 2019, and our philosophy has been just a little small steps every year, and that kind of one foot in front of the other over the years has kind of manifested itself. Now we have a fairly sizable area. We just adding large infrastructure projects now, and it's just a little bit year by year. And then actually last year we actually had to kind of sit down and redesign how our layout was for those types of things, just because realized, all right, we've reached this point step by step, but if we're going to keep doing these steps for the next 10, 15 years, we really have to be intentional. And so there's been things like that as well that we've had to consider and do.
All that planning, all that marketing, all that preparation, and you're still dependent on Mother Nature and how things turn out. How have things gone for the produce industry over the last couple of years? I know we had some major weather events here in Ohio since 2019. How has your industry fared through all that?
Fairly well. So really the most notable thing recently has been the drought this year and then last year. So the year before in 2023, Southern Ohio had a very extreme drought. That hurt them quite a bit. And then this year, kind of the northern part of the state got to feel that. And a lot of guys kind of were able to skirt through okay. But if you're in those really hard impacted areas, it kind of affected you. I know by the end of the year, a lot of irrigation ponds were very low, myself included. So, and it takes time for those things to come back up. And then there's things that are long-term impacts too, whether that's healthier tree plantings or getting new plantings established those may not have grown as well as you were wanting to those first couple of years, so it might take an extra year to kind of get your crops to market for maybe a newer variety you planted. But overall, things have been going okay as far as that goes. So
you mentioned the different business models that are out there now in the produce industry with the agritourism and with everything else that goes into expanding your portfolio in your industry. That means that organizations like the Ohio Produce Growers and Marketers Association has to change with the times. You mentioned some changes over the past 10 or 15 years. What do those look like? How has this association evolved over the years?
Yes. So in the past, we were very much primarily kind of a big, large group of many, many different growers, and very grower oriented. Where now today we're trying to bring in more of the farm market side of things. Then, as unfortunately consolidation has occurred, we kind of see a change in membership, a shift in membership, and kind of what that looks like, and what are their needs. If a mom and pop doing 50 acres of vegetables, their needs from an organization like ourselves is very different than a farm growing 500 acres of vegetables. And so through that to today, we're trying to refocus on how do we provide those networking opportunities, and how are we getting our members connected to education opportunities that they need as well to kind of continue to move forward in kind of this new and changing landscape that we have.
Sounds like a really neat opportunity for growth of an association such as OPGMA. So those watching and listening, if they are in that 50 acre or smaller range, that farmers market type of niche, how do they go about finding more about the organization and how do they get involved?
Yeah, so you can always find us at our website. Just look up opgma.org and you find it there. Or you can always reach out to any one of our board members or members of the greater organization. So myself as a board member, and we have many board members that are kind of scattered throughout the state, from down the Ohio River all the way to the northern part of the state, and different industries too. So that's kind of what's really cool about OPGMA is you have apple growers, we have people who are primarily farm markets, we have vegetable growers, both big and small, small berry growers, things like that. So just always never be afraid to reach out and get a hold of us, and we're always happy to help in any way that we can.
As we get further into 2025, we're working harder and harder on our goals for this year. Of course, for Ohio Farm Bureau, that means on the policy front and getting things done in Columbus and in Washington. What are some of the goals for OPGMA as you look forward here for the rest of the year?
So right now, the board is working very diligently to bring kind of new and more ideas to the organization and provide more value to our members. So there's some things that not quite ready to put out there yet, but we're working behind the scenes to really, provide these more opportunities for our membership moving forward. But we're very excited. Like this summer, we're going up to Chef's Garden for our summer tour, and that's going to be a very cool opportunity. Bob Jones up there has a very impressive operation, and his brother Lee, and we're very excited for that event coming forward.
I kind of look like Bob, except I have a regular tie on instead of a bow tie,
Yeah.
but that's beside the point. Ethan Stuckey, he's president of the Ohio Produce Growers and Marketers Association. Appreciate your time, and
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you.
Hey, this is Matt, Phil, and Libby, hosts of Ag Credit Set It, your go-to podcast for insights on farm finance and maximizing your return on investment.
Tune in to new episodes of Ag Credit Set It twice a month as we talk to industry leaders, financial experts, and farmers who share their experiences and perspective.
Listen in your favorite podcast app like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and be sure to subscribe to Ag Credit Set It so you never miss an episode. We'll talk to you soon.
As the nation's #1 insurer of farms and farm families, Nationwide has long been a reliable resource for rural America. And while the current surge of data, technology, and globalization promises incredible growth potential, each new opportunity is shadowed by rising threats like security breaches, GMO contamination, and supply chain failures. This business is about adapting. It demands a protector just as forward-minded. It demands Nationwide.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. We're at the annual meeting of the Ohio Produce Growers and Marketers Association in Columbus. Alex Buck joins me. He's part of the Fruit Growers Marketing Association, president of that association. Good to see you.
You too, Ty.
So every year I get calls from the media asking how the apple crop fared for the year, and Alex is my go-to guy. We've had some challenging situations weather-wise over the past couple of years. In fact, 2023, we had a drought in the southern part of the state. We saw more of those conditions in 2024. What is the current state of your industry as far as the apple crop over the last 2 years? Have farmers been able to sustain the challenges Mother Nature has dealt?
So last year we had a bumper crop. So we had a tremendous crop at a time where the returns weren't that good because of the retail pricing. But this year it's a little bit tighter of a crop. So as long as we have proper storing techniques, we're able to stretch that crop out and get stronger returns for the growers.
That's interesting because a lot of people go to the store in the middle of the winter and they see apples from Ohio. How does storage work? Can you explain that for people that are watching or listening that may not understand exactly how we keep those apples as fresh as we can, as long as we can?
Yeah, so once we harvest those apples into a bin, we put them into a room in which we can suck out all the oxygen out of those rooms, called controlled atmosphere rooms. At that point, it stops the ripening process of the apples and stops them from breaking down. So as long as we keep those doors sealed, we can keep them for over a year. Now, as soon as we open up those doors, the clock starts ticking. We have 6 to 8 weeks to get those apples out of the room, pack them, get them to the retailers.
Talk about the different types of fruits that we have in Ohio. I like to tout the diversity of agriculture. We have a climate here where we can grow a whole bunch of different fruits and vegetables. How wide is the spectrum as far as the fruit is concerned across the Buckeye State?
Well, I think that's starting to grow here now that there's a lot more commodities that we can grow outside of just apples. We're growing a lot more peaches, raspberries, blackberries. We're increasing our strawberry production, nectarines, plums, pears. So we are definitely growing those other commodities too. So we're more than just apples and peaches.
You mentioned we're growing, and I think we're growing in the amount of produce that we raise here in Ohio as well. That's where you come in as a marketer, try to find places for all those fresh produce to go. Talk about that challenge or that opportunity and how that's working and where our crops end up.
So I think a lot of the big box retailers are pivoting now to support local farms. So we're starting to see that shift. And with our company, we're able to connect those dots and introduce those large retail chains to Ohio farmers. So as we start building that relationship, they want to expand that menu of what all we have and what all we can grow. So as they start seeing that growth with apples and peaches, they then want to expand and work with nectarines, pears, and berries.
How granular can you get with marketing of fruit? Because I just talked with Ethan Stuckey, president of the Produce Growers and Marketers Association. He talked about how we're bringing in more of the farmers market type of growers, right? Those that have maybe 50 or less acres and they're selling locally. They also need a marketing plan. They need help to get the word out about what they're growing. How do you, as a state organization, help those people find places for their crops they grow on their small farms?
So first and foremost, we help them with food safety. So a lot of those smaller farms don't have the infrastructure to be able to afford all the food safety challenges that we face. So we help them with that, give them a strong food safety program, and then we also help them connect those dots to retailers. And when we promote our brand, we want to promote the grower's name too. So we don't want it to just stop with Fresh Forward, which is our brand, but we want them to also be familiar with the actual grower and the location of that farm, so that when someone stops into a local Meijer, that they know that apple comes from this farm.
So many great products coming from Ohio from so many great farmers all across the Buckeye State. Alex Buck helping them market their products, not just here in Ohio, but across the Midwest and really across the country. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you, Ty.
Find previous podcasts at ohiofarmbureau.org and search podcasts.